You ever wonder how on earth people can afford these huge, massive car payments? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the systems that make these seemingly impossible purchases a reality for millions of people. Let's get right into it.
You know the feeling, right? You're just driving down the highway, and then you see it. This brand new, gleaming monster of a truck. The kind that costs more than a down payment on a house. And you can't help but think, how? How are regular folks swinging these absolutely astronomical payments?
Well, the truth is, it's not magic. It's a system, a really carefully designed system, a mix of clever financing and even cleverer marketing, all built to make the impossible feel, well, possible. And understanding this system is absolutely key to protecting your own financial future.
All right, let's start with just how big this whole thing is. I mean, how much are we really talking about with these payments? I think the numbers are actually going to surprise you. Okay, get this. The average monthly payment for a new car in the US is now over $727. And remember, that's just the average. For the really popular stuff, the big trucks and SUVs, those payments are easily blasting past $900, even $1,200 a month. It's wild. So the big question is, how is this even possible?
Well, the secret, if you want to call it that, is all about creating an illusion. It's about making a ridiculously expensive product seem affordable, at least on a month-to-month basis. And the main tool they use to pull this off? It's simple: time.
I mean, do you remember when a 4-year car loan was just normal? Yeah, those days are pretty much ancient history. The new normal is 7 or even 8 years. And in some cases, and this is truly terrifying, we're seeing 10-year loans. Now, the appeal is obvious, right? Stretch the loan out longer, and that monthly payment gets smaller. But, and this is a huge but, there is a very serious catch.
Okay, look at this comparison. For a $60,000 truck, a 4-year loan might be around $1,500 a month. Pretty steep. But stretch that to 8 years, and suddenly it's down to about $900. Seems much more doable, right? But here's the trap. Over that 8-year loan, you end up paying about $86,000 in total. That's $14,000 more than the 4-year option. You are paying a massive, massive premium just for a lower monthly bill.
And that trap has a name. It's called negative equity. It's a really simple but dangerous concept. See, with these super long loans, your car's value drops way faster than you're paying off the loan. So after just a couple of years, you might owe, say, 40 grand on a truck that's only worth 30 grand. You are completely underwater. And that makes it almost impossible to sell it or trade it in unless you're ready to write a massive check to cover the difference.
It really is like a financial hamster wheel. You just can't get off. What happens is people take that negative equity, that $10,000 they're underwater, and they just roll it into the loan for their next car. So now their new car loan is even bigger. Their balances just keep growing and growing, and it locks them into this crazy cycle where they're always paying for cars they don't even own anymore.
So, okay, the numbers are one thing. But this whole situation isn't just about spreadsheets and interest rates. To really understand why so many people willingly sign up for this, we have to look at the psychology behind it all. And that's where it gets really interesting.
I mean, think about it like this. If your friend told you they were spending $1,200 a month on, coffee, you'd think they were insane, right? You'd probably say it's an intervention. But when someone says they have a $1,200 car payment, we all just kind of nod and say, oh, okay, well, you need reliable transportation. It's just normal. And that normalization is no accident. It's the result of decades of absolutely brilliant marketing.
See, car companies don't really sell cars anymore. They sell identities. You know that commercial? The one with the truck climbing up a rugged mountain? They're not selling you a way to get to your 9-to-5 job. No way. They are selling you the feeling of being a tough, successful, mountain climbing adventurer. And when you think you're buying an identity, that $900 payment suddenly doesn't feel like a financial mistake. It feels like an investment in yourself. Okay, so you've got the long loan to make the payment low, and you've got the emotional reason to justify it. But how do people actually, make it work in a real budget? Well, this is where we get to the really damaging sacrifices.
It's pretty incredible, actually. People literally restructure their entire lives around a car payment. They cut their budgets for essentials like housing and food. They take on second jobs, not for vacation, but just to pay for the car. They do incredibly dangerous things like borrowing from their 401ks, which can cost them hundreds of thousands in the future. And when they can't afford gas or a new set of tires, it goes on the credit card. It just creates this vicious debt spiral.
And listen, up to now, we've mostly been talking about that monthly payment. But to see the real full picture of this trap, we have to look at the total cost of actually owning one of these things. And I'm warning you, this is where the numbers get truly staggering.
So let's just run the numbers on a really typical example. Let's say a $55,000 truck financed over a pretty standard 7-year loan. The person buying it is focused on that manageable monthly payment, but they're completely missing the giant iceberg under the water. So, let's add it all up.
All right, first up, the loan payments themselves. By the time you're done paying for 7 years, with all the interest, you've paid about $67,000. But believe me, we are just getting started.
Next, you've got to insure this expensive new truck, right? Well, full coverage insurance over 7 years is going to easily tack on another $21,000.
And what about fuel? You can't forget gas. A big truck like this, maybe it gets 15 miles to the gallon. It just burns through a shocking amount of cash. Over those same 7 years, you're looking at another $29,000. Wow.
And finally, you have to maintain it. And things will break. Modern vehicles are super complex and really expensive to fix. We're talking brakes, new tires, and all the stuff that just happens. That's easily going to be another 15 grand over the life of the loan.
So, when you add all of that up, the loan, the insurance, the fuel, the maintenance, that affordable truck has actually cost you $132,000. Think about that. That's not just an expense. That is wealth destruction on an absolutely massive scale.
And here's where it really hits home. This is the real choice you're making. On one hand, you buy the truck. You spend 132 grand, and after 7 years, you're left with an asset worth maybe 15,000 bucks. On the other hand, what if you just invested that money instead? The payment plus the insurance is about $1,150 a month. If you invested that, after 7 years, you'd have around $135,000 sitting in your account. That is the opportunity cost. It's a life-changing amount of money. So why on earth do people defend this choice so passionately? It's a really fascinating psychological trap. It's almost like an automotive Stockholm syndrome. They become so emotionally attached to the vehicle, this thing that's their financial captor, that it gets completely tangled up in their identity. So when you criticize the financial decision, it feels like you're attacking them as a person, and they end up defending the very thing that is holding them back. And all this really leaves us with one final critical question that you have to ask yourself. In this whole quest for status, for an identity on the road, is your vehicle actually building your life up, or is it quietly, month after month, destroying your wealth?